What's up, everybody? Happy March Madness. Happy Spring Eve. Welcome to a Thursday edition of Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus, and we have a great show for you today. Our friend, dear friend of the show, Jeff Marek, will be joining us probably in the next 4 or 5 minutes or so after Colby and I get acquainted with each other this morning. And I see Adam Glickus' comment in the chat. Will Colby still have hot coals for Johnny? Jeff, be warned. Colby was very fired up yesterday and said he'd speak to Frank this way. Hashtag be safe. LOL. And I think Colby's actually in a really good mood this morning. He's been kind of
What does that
flirting with me.
mean? What
You've been flirting with me a little bit this morning, I think.
That's the
The first thing Colby says like 10 minutes ago, I went back and listened, and I don't know why.
Let me ask you a question. I asked you if you watch White
Lotus.
Lotus. That was the first thing I asked you. I asked you if you watch White Lotus, and then I told you there was a specific scene that reminded me of you. Okay, that was the first thing I said to you.
That's flirting.
No, it's not flirting if you watch the scene. And anybody who watches that show probably knows the scene I'm talking about. And it just, for whatever reason, when I watched that scene unfolding, I thought of Johnny. That's kind of what I thought of. Coming on here after telling me what you've told me in the pre-show meeting and taking shots at me to start this meeting, you're basically asking me to cross a line with you that I'm not going to do.
Thank you.
I don't want to do that to you as much as I do want to do that to you. So, anyways, did you watch any hockey last night?
I didn't. It was a date night for me. Only 2 games on the board. And I was like, you know what? If there's one night for me to not watch this week, it's going to be Wednesday night. But spoke to Vic, got the breakdown. Avs apparently outplayed the Leafs significantly, and Joseph Wall had a big game. And the refs rigged it a little bit in favor of the Leafs because that goal last night that Steven Lorentz got, oh my God, man. Like, what does he do? What is the ref doing there?
He fell. Are you kidding me?
You think that was a fall? I thought he was diving to avoid.
He toe picked you. Are you that stupid? He toe picked.
It looked like he was trying to duck. It looked like
they showed it on the broad. Had you done your job and watched the games like we're paid to do,
yes,
you would have seen the fact that the ref literally toe picked, trying to get to the wall to be out of the way. Eddie Olczyk did a breakdown of it. It's Kelly Sutherland, who's been around forever.
Yeah.
Listen, this is just unlucky. Like, you can't even be mad at something like this.
People in the chat are like obviously it's an accident, but I thought he was just trying to duck because the puck was in the air. That's just what I thought of it when I initially saw it. He
literally toe picked. I mean, have you never toe picked on the ice?
I have plenty of times.
I mean, that literally happens to everybody. Bednar can't even be angry. You can be in shock or in disbelief, but you can't be angry at that.
No.
I mean, listen, that's just you play a game on ice on this little sheet. I thought what was interesting. Is Jeff here? Because if Jeff's here,
I think he's still loading. He's still loading.
Okay, he's loading up. So here's what I thought was interesting.
Can I read Bednar's comment quick? It was just that one was a little strange. Couldn't have come at a worse time.
Yeah, well, of course it did because the Avs were pushing, which they did most of the game. I mean, and look, I think the Avs ultimately outplayed Toronto, but I do think Toronto had a couple of good pushes late. I think it was in the third. Just at the end of the second period, actually, Blackwood made 2 saves on Matthews and one that I don't think he actually stopped on Nyes. I think Nyes just put it up over the net. I was actually a little bit surprised that Edzo and Bush didn't say anything about that one. They just showed it because they were going to break so they didn't really get into it too much, but a couple of really good saves there. But listen, Wall is the story in that game. He outplayed Blackwood, who played really well.
Yeah.
But 2-1. I mean, that's kind of a goalie duel for those two teams when you have that type of scoring. But I thought that it's good to see Joseph Wall, who seems to be starting to creep back into the pole position in net for Toronto. And I think with a win and an effort like that for Joseph Wall, he probably is telling his coach, okay, like I'm the guy. Like this is a marquee win against a marquee team where my team got outplayed and I'm the guy. And I think that you gotta give credit where credit's due. And listen, sometimes you gotta win games where you don't play as well. And sometimes you gotta kind of fold it in and defend the house and live to fight another day, especially this time of year. And I think the Avs did that at times. So obviously Austin Matthews gets on the board again, which again, like, that has to excite people. I heard Zach, I think it was on Leafs After Dark the other night. Zach started with, I think we're back or something like that.
You're not going to make fun of him like you make fun of me when I said the Rangers are back?
I mean, Zach is a more credible person than you. So, it's a little bit different.
I was looking up Zach's elite prospects yesterday. I couldn't find it, though, because I heard him talking about his playing days with Robert Thomas when they were teammates. So, Zach, I'm gonna need that link. I want to see your stats.
Here was what I wanted to talk about, though. I lost my train of thought on this play.
I want one thing quick, though.
Okay.
While you're talking about Joseph Wall, I wanted to give you the stats since Four Nations between those two goalies, Joseph Wall and Anthony Stolarz. Wall is 5-1-0 with a .904 save percentage and a 3.00 goals against. Stolarz is 3-3-1 with a .894 and a 3.08. So Wall's numbers clearly better, but like his numbers still aren't great. Like a .904 save percentage and a 3.00 goals against is like not great numbers. But the 5-1 record you'll take, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, when you've had some injury troubles, you've had some consistency troubles. And listen, the biggest question surrounding, well, I shouldn't say the biggest, but goaltending is always a topic that is discussed in Toronto. It's Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, and then goaltending. It seems like you kind of know what you're getting out of Tavares and you're getting out of Nylander day to day. I think it's the other two that sort of just, you just don't fully know. So on the game-winning goal that you brought up, and again, I know some people we have here are Canadian, so you guys are getting the Rogers Sportsnet feed, and then some of us are Americans, so we're getting the TNT feed. I thought it was interesting to hear Brian Boucher kind of down. Go ahead. Let's bring Jeff into this because we'll get his opinion and we'll let him be part of this conversation.
All right, let me just read Jeff in quick. So before we bring him on, just want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Proraso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Proraso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations, so get 15% off at Proraso-USA.com with our promo Hockey15. In all caps, Hockey15. We have
that's what took so long.
Coming out soon, actually.
Had to get my hat.
That's why you're late, because you had to get the hat on?
Had to go find my hat. No, we had some tech problems that I'm like, I gotta put on my nickel and dime BU hat. Come on, man.
I gotta get you a real one first of all.
You say that every show.
I know. I'll tell you what, it's hard to mail things to Canada though. I tried to mail something to Canada a couple of weeks ago and it came back to me because apparently I didn't do the form. I didn't do the form right. It should just be easy. Right. Like, why can't I just send something to Canada? I want to send a hat to someone, right? So,
wow, anyways, Colby, how come we can't just be nice neighbors that get along? I don't know why.
It should be easy.
I don't know. We've been friends for so long. I don't know what's different now. It's baffling. I don't know what's happening.
That hat is amazing. You can't even.
It's better than a real BU hat. Like with all due respect.
And it's a big game today for them. Hockey East quarterfinals are today. So nice. It's game day for those guys. But let me ask you this question, Jeff, because they talked about this on the American feed. I don't know. With the American broadcast, we have Brian Boucher, so he's obviously always going to dive into the goalie stuff. And
yes.
He talked about how when that play happens in the neutral zone, and it was sort of towards the far blue line, the goaltender who's expecting to go out behind the net has to sort of reset because the Laurent shot was a good shot, but I wouldn't say it was like it wasn't a guy who we know for having like an absolute missile of a shot or a snipe or whatever, you know what I mean? So Bush kind of let Blackwood off the hook on that one because he says, he doesn't really have time to reset there. I don't like the goal. I disagree. I think Bush kind of let him off the hook a little bit there.
So I even think like Lorenz himself was surprised that it went in. Like in the interview after in the Canadian feed, Sean McKenzie's talking to him and they're going over the play and he's even surprised himself that shot went in. Like, that's a shot that we saw go in all the time in the 80s when goaltenders still hadn't figured out how to play the position properly. Like, things like that, like come down the wing and snipe far side. Like that one, that happened all the time. But by today's standard of what's a shot that should go in and what's a shot that always has to be stopped, that's a shot that always has to be stopped. I will, though, however, and I understand the goaltending apologists, and there are no shortage of goaltenders in media in hockey. We all know that. But having said that, I will always default to goalies that know that position more so than me, who talks a lot from the back seat and doesn't have a hand on the wheel. Listen, if Brian Boucher says that that's not enough time for Mackenzie Blackwood to reset, because like that's dumping and he's going out to stop it for his defenseman to circle back, I will defer. Like, I'm not so arrogant to say, like, hey, Brian Boucher, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, me
like
too.
You just played in the NHL as a goaltender. You know, I played, hockey in the GTHL till I was 16 years old. I know better than you, Bouch. If Brian Boucher is saying that that's not enough time for Mackenzie Blackwood to reset, I'll default to Boucher on that one.
You think that's a shot that has to be stopped every time?
Don't you?
I don't know. He's like at the dot. Like, I don't see that as like that's
Andy.
That's
can you pull that up? Can you find that highlight and see if you can't pull that up for us as we're talking about it a little bit here? I don't know. Look, I'm with Jeff on the fact. Look, Jeff said something that was kind of funny. He said, I'm not that arrogant to think. I know I'm arrogant, but I'm not arrogant when it comes to goaltending. So
I'm arrogant. Don't worry.
That's That's the one thing, Jeff. Like, I'm with you on that. When a goalie, I always defer. I text Andrew Raycroft. Like, I like to text goalies. They protect each other, but I actually think Carter Hutton is actually one of the most fair goaltenders when it comes to being critical versus protecting goaltenders. He's always pretty fair about giving calling out a bad goal when he sees one. So I do appreciate that about Carter Hutton. Maybe he's a guy we should check in on that. But I thought it was but it's a testament to Joseph Woll and the way that he played in that game. And I'm curious for you, like, after watching that, Jeff, are you confident that Joseph Woll can be the every night starter in the playoffs, or we still need to sort that out here over the next couple of weeks?
Doesn't the whole thing depend on the hospital bracelet more than anything else? Like, that's the history, right?
Damn.
Like, that's like, if you can keep the hospital bracelet off, then probably. I mean, I would always you defer like certain goaltenders you talk to. Raycroft's a great one. There's certain guys that I talk to as well. And one of the things that always comes back is, like, from a technical standpoint, Kevin Woodley makes all this point all the time about Joseph Woll from In Goal Magazine. From a technical standpoint, the guy's like a high-end goaltender in the NHL. Like, Linus Ullmark, from a technical standpoint, is like a top 10 goaltender in the NHL. Like, there's being like having all your technique down and being like proficient technically, and then there's battling, and then there's the game. I mean, you guys know this. How many guys, Pat Quinn used to refer to them as morning glories. They look great in practice in the morning, and then the puck dropped at night and they were a different player. There's that element. I think the first start for Joseph Woll is just stay healthy, because I think we all know that there's a really high-end goaltender in there. Not that it's always been the one area that's dogged the Maple Leafs in the playoffs, because goal scoring has always been their issue. It's bizarre. The knock has always been the blue line, but come playoff time, it's always been lack of firepower. A long-winded way of saying, as long as this guy's healthy, I think we'll have a really good first big snapshot of what this guy can do. And but that is if they decide to roll with him as the number one. Like, I don't think they're going to flip-flop back and forth between Stolarz and Woll. As much as we may think that, hey, it's cool and it's the right thing to do for hockey in 2025, I don't know that they do that. I think coaches are still like, this is our guy and we're going to roll with him. So if we'll only know if Craig Berube makes a decision that Joe Woll's the guy and not Anthony Stolarz.
Well, Jeff, I have a couple things off of that, because I see the chat saying, didn't Woll injure himself in Game 6 last year? And he did. Like, he was the number one guy in that series in the first round against Boston last year. And I think he had a shutout going and let up a goal in like the dying seconds where he actually hurt himself on the goal he allowed. So he wasn't able to start that Game 7. But with that also, First, well, I'm going to say one thing and then I'll get into the next thing. First, I'm going to say I love that you say you guys know this, because Colby and I always laugh that when people come on, they'll say, Colby, you played, And it's
Well, you played. You
totally,
played college
no, I
hockey,
know,
dude. Like that's a high level
I
of
know,
hockey.
but it's like a running joke that
Yeah, it's a
people
running
that
joke
literally they
between
know
Colby
when
and
they
I.
come on our show, like they
Yeah.
have to put Johnny in that box. And the fact that every guest catches
Listen,
on to that
man,
so quickly, it's like the best.
I played until I was until I didn't get drafted in the OHL, and then I quit and became a really, really bad beer league hockey player. So I'm not. I'm just talking shit from the back seat.
I know. I just love that you said that. But so with my next thing, and full accountability, I didn't watch this game last night, so I can't speak to it myself.
Colorado
But
was good. Spoiler.
The question I was going to ask, whether you believe in Wool or not, when you watch a game like that, and from what I've gathered, Colorado completely dominated Toronto.
They were great.
Can a team like Toronto even keep up in a 7-game series with a team as high caliber as Colorado?
I don't like this is a great right now. This is a great season for Canada, whether it's 4 nations, whether it's 6 teams are going to make it into the postseason. It appears here like this is a wonderful season for Canada. I can't see, with all due respect, Winnipeg, with all due respect, Toronto, I can't see any Canadian team, like not just Toronto. I can't see any Canadian team, and I'm happy to be proven wrong here, but I can't see right now any Canadian team hanging with the big dogs. And I'll throw Colorado in that mix. Like, man, Colorado is a team that they are hitting their stride. I know it's a tough loss last night, but they are hitting their stride. And that game against Dallas on Sunday was, for my money, probably the best game I've seen all season long. And bummer for Dallas if Heiskanen doesn't come back until the second round. But I don't know that I can see. I don't know that I can see Toronto hanging with Tampa or Florida. I don't know that I can see Winnipeg hanging around with 2-3 in the Central. So I don't think, Johnny, I don't think it's exclusive to Toronto. I think that all the Canadian teams are going to have a hard time if there's, Stanley Cup aspirations for any of them. And that includes Edmonton.
But I
meant more so like, oh, sorry, Colby, you go.
No, it's okay. Go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like, people talk about Toronto getting out of the first round and if this is their actual chance to win the cup and whatnot, but those top dogs in the West, to me, are a significant step up.
They are
from what we see in the East. So, like, even if Toronto gets there, I'm not sure I'm giving them a shot if they do get there.
The only thing, it's a really good point. The only thing about that is by the time you get to the Stanley Cup final, if you're a team from the West, man, you've gone through a gauntlet.
Yeah.
Like, what is that team going to look like? I don't think any of us have any clue who's going to come out of the Western Conference, but what shape are they going to be in? Like, somewhere along the way, you need an easy series. Like, you need a sweep, right? You really need it. It's hard if you're going to grind every series, and every series is 6 or 7 to have anything other than just fumes by the time the Stanley Cup rolls around. So if you're in the East, and I'm with you, like the West is just so much harder.
Yeah.
And specifically the Central, it's just brutal. It's just brutal hockey there. I just don't know what that team from the Western Conference is going to look like by the time they get to the Cup final. Whoever that is, Colorado, Dallas, Vegas, Edmonton, whomever, Winnipeg.
Well, and I also think there's belief within the Toronto Maple Leaf locker room that they can beat Tampa just because they've played them so many times and they've played them so tough. But
Tampa's good, man.
Look, there's a lot of reasons why Toronto needs to push to win that division, because you talk about having an easier series.
Yes.
An easier series would be against the Ottawa Senators. And I know some people don't necessarily agree because Ottawa's had their number a little bit, but listen, if you say to me, who would you rather see in the first round for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Tampa Bay Lightning or the Ottawa Senators? I'm sorry, it's not even close.
But Brady could truck in the playoffs.
And Brady, but they've, and I know you're kidding, Johnny, but listen, that team has not played in the playoffs. We all know you have to kind of cut your teeth in the playoffs. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why Toronto needs to go all in to try to win this division, because having to play Tampa or Florida, because I still think any of the 3 teams could win that division, Tampa or Florida in the first round for Toronto, I think it's a disaster for them, and I think it's a lot of golfing for them this summer if that is to happen. So
that's tough. That's the one division where you really need to do yourself a favor and finish first. Like Winnipeg's taking the ball and they're hiding. Like that one's done. It's the battle for home ice in the Central. But man, the Atlantic, you need to finish first. I don't care who you are. If you're Florida, you want it. If you're Tampa, you want it. Like,
I agree.
Nobody wants to face anybody. We're all like, oh, Maple Leafs have to finish first. Florida's feeling the same way.
I agree.
Tampa's feeling the same way. Nobody wants that nightmare fuel in the first round. No thanks, man.
All right, so let me ask you this, Jeff, because it's sort of along this topic, and then Johnny, you can weigh in on this as well. Why is Gary Bettman so stubborn about the playoff format? To me, this feels like the Phoenix Coyotes stubbornness 2.0. Like, go back to 1 verse 8, 2-7. Like, but he just is so unwilling to even talk about it. I see his comments after the GM meetings. Yeah. Every fan in the game of hockey is calling for that. Everyone. So let's. I do this every now and then as an experiment. I did it the other day. I think it was Monday. I put it together. If you have a look at, like, just measure off right now, how different would the playoffs be right now if we did 1-8-2-7? You want me to read it? Do you want me to read what the matchups would be?
How actually different would it be?
So you'd have
profoundly, because as of Monday, the only two teams that flip-flopped, I think, were New Jersey and Ottawa.
Right, yeah, because 1-8 would be Washington, Montreal. 2-7 would be Carolina, Ottawa. 3-6 would be Florida, New Jersey, and then 4-5 would still be Toronto versus Tampa Bay. So that series would stay the same. The first 1 versus 8 would be the same. 2-7 would be a little bit different. No, it wouldn't actually, because they're in first right now. So
what about the West?
Right. Yeah, you're right on the East.
It wouldn't be like that profoundly different. And I think that there's a couple of things here. Like we wonder if this is, at what point the commissioner, winds it down and calls it a career. There's a CBA to be done. There's a Canadian television rights deal to be done. And, is that it? Does he, drop Mike, peace out, and hand it over to Bill Daly after that? And maybe he doesn't want to change things too much. He wants to leave some room here for the next commission. I don't know. This is just hypothesizing. Okay. Maybe he wants to leave something for the next commissioner to do, because a lot of the heavy lifting is going to be done. Maybe relook at the playoff format, but really, like, if it's not going to be that profoundly different, why do it? Why change it?
Well, let me throw this.
Like, the only way it's going to be profoundly different is if we go 1-16.
Well, it'll be different because we won't be locked into an Oilers-Kings first round.
Well, that's what I was.
Okay.
Hang on. I think the only difference there would be is we wouldn't see the year after year. You're not going to see. How many times have we seen Toronto, Tampa? How many times have we seen LA, Edmonton? It seems
Rangers,
like you get that every year.
Second round, it's the same shit every year.
Okay, hang on. So I know that the default argument is we don't want to see Edmonton, LA again this year. I kind of do, because I don't know that Edmonton wins that thing.
So
I don't.
That's why
I think it's finally LA's. It's finally LA's turn. They're finally going to get them.
It's like, hold on a second here. Like, you sure you don't want to see that?
Well, I want to see Conor McDavid go through the playoffs as long as possible, so I don't want to see that.
So do I. Like, honestly, just as a hockey fan, I'm the same way, Johnny. I want to see McDavid blaze through the whole thing, and I want to see, McDavid, finally get his Stanley Cup. But I can't sit here and say that 100% they're going to get out of the first round. Like, honestly, I outside of maybe, and this is just a strong maybe, outside of maybe Winnipeg, Vancouver. Look at all the series right now. How many are guarantees? And how many are guarantees for any team?
I do want to address, though, Kwadi in the chat right now. So it's not the same shit. It's developing rivalries. We've done this now for years. Like, a playoff series, whether there's a rivalry or not, it's going to be a battle. They hate each other no matter what. Like, you don't need it to build rivalries. Like, even like, and I've debated this just like from the Ranger perspective for the past 3 seasons. Like, the Rangers and Carolina, when they meet in the regular season, it's not like some big bloodbath. Like, it's a good game, don't get me wrong, because it's a divisional matchup. But like, they've seen each other in so many postseasons these past few years. And it's not like that automatically goes into the regular season. It doesn't.
So much of what we're talking about with hockey now is still under the umbrella of the Four Nations. Here's what I want to submit to you guys. I'm curious your thoughts on this. So the one moment at the Four Nations, that Saturday night in Montreal, it's going to be one of those where you win moments, because it's such a flashpoint. The fights off the face-off, right? So much of that, like all of a sudden, like basketball is going through a horrible all-star weekend. NFL is done, Super Bowl is over, and the spotlight is on the Four Nations, and those fights occur. And whether you agree with fighting, don't like fight, the one thing you cannot deny is those 3 fights galvanized and supercharged this tournament and took it outside of hockey. All of a sudden, you're doing what we all keep saying: spread this game out, let everybody have. You need something to draw people in. So make no mistake about it, it was the fights that attracted a lot of people to this outside of hockey. So if the NHL, and we're seeing this now more and more, if the NHL wants to finally, because they've always sort of shied away from it in this era, put more of an accent on the violence in the sport and the fighting in the sport, what do you think, in the spirit of sort of, let's play around and change some rules here? We're going to change playoff formats. Let's look at some rules here.
Okay.
Do you know why fighting is a 5-minute major?
I actually don't know. That's a good question. I've never even thought of that.
Because it's always been that way. Going back to I want to say 1927, when they first came up with the 5-minute major, and then you had to like take a player off, right? So like both sat for 5, and it was and players sat off. Like you didn't get to replace that player. It's always been that way. What do you think would happen to hockey? And I'm going to get the instigator here. If you said, all right, fighting penalty is now 2 minutes, the instigator is 5.
Interesting.
You instigate a fight, it's the extra 5. But if you fight, because again, let's not forget here, these are 2 people that are agreeing to do this.
Yeah, but
to one another. What if you said fighting is now a minor, instigator is the major?
But the major, you're not putting your team shorthanded.
What's that?
Like the 5-minute, like when you get the instigator penalty, or you're saying the opposite, like the 2.
Yes.
So I guess a team would only
the
have
2 would wash, and you get a 5-minute
wash.
Yeah.
But they'd have a 3-minute
and you get the 5.
No.
Yeah. And you get and what's that? Yeah. Then you get a 5-minute power play.
If you're an 5-minute power play, because the 2 wash, right? They're matching minors, and then the 5 would be the extra. So it'd be a 5-minute major power play. Is what he's saying.
You probably you definitely get less instigators for sure. Yeah.
But you would also minimize, if 2 guys are going to do it, those 2 guys are coming out after 2 minutes.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, you'd do away with the clean hit fight, because you know that instigator is putting your team down by 5 minutes, and it would get back to probably what the spirit of it was. I mean, I don't, no offense, Jeff, go back as far as you do with it, but you know, the spirit of things when I remember, you know, growing up, and you know, I'd be watching the Flyers as a little kid, and all of a sudden 2 guys would just, you know, they'd square off after a scrum or off a face-off, and you know, they'd settle their beef.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean,
are you warming up? You guys warming to this idea?
Well, listen, I'm thinking about it. I'm not just gonna say no. Like, to me, my brain is moving now, and I'm thinking about it. I appreciate the thought on this, but there is an interesting comment, Jeff, in the chat here that is actually a place that I wanted to go. And K. Waddy says you need the 5 minutes to recover from the fight. And I can tell you, obviously, you could go back to the bench and recover more, but you do, after a good scrap, like, and I, you know, have had enough of them in my playing career. You do need that 5 minutes to like recollect yourself. You need to
go back to the bench.
You need to bring your adrenaline down. You know, might need some repairs on your face. Like, there's different things. You're right. You could do that on the bench, but there is something about sitting in the penalty box for 5 minutes and sort of being able to like bring yourself back down to like normalcy, because fighting, you go to a different place mentally when you get into a fight, where you don't even feel it when you get hit in the face. You don't feel it until later.
I don't know why my brain went here, Jeff, but when you started that little tangent, I was thinking, what if they made the rule where every game starts with a fight and the winning
mandatory
team in the fight gets a power play?
So
Start
the
the game.
old
Everyone
Quebec
would tune in for the first 5 minutes of a game.
the LNAH is the name of the league used to be called the Quebec Semi-Pro League. And what a lot of teams would do, that was like, just to be blunt, it was a goon league. That's where, like, old, washed up fighters would go and like still get a paycheck, and guys would just scrap. And guys who couldn't play in the NHL but were tough, like, just went and played in the LNAH. Then the Quebec Semi-Pro League. What a lot of teams did was, if you bought a ticket to the game and there wasn't at least one fight, you got a ticket to another game.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So as my brain is continuing to kind of turn on this, and the last thing I want to say about it is that I this to me would be something that's open to having a larger discussion, where I think this would never, the reason it would never get to this, Jeff, is because you're basically going backwards in theory, you're going backwards for player safety. And there's all this concussion talk and the CTE talk. Sure, and
that's right. That's why instigator gets the extra. You're starting as opposed to, I'm saying, like, two guys agreeing to do this. I think we can both look at them and say, this was your decision. You both wanted to do this. That's why I think make the instigator more. But like, fighting majors are just majors because back in 1927, we decided there was going to be a 5-minute penalty without substitution.
Yeah. No, listen, it'll never happen, but it's certainly, I as I heard you talking about it, I was kind of like, and then I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of, I bit, let's just say that I didn't give it the old Johnny swat away. All right. I want to change.
I don't swat shit away. What are you talking about?
No, that's what I do to you is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I want to change topics really quickly.
Wait,
I want to ask, go ahead, Johnny. You can go next.
No, you go first.
Johnny.
You're both beautiful. Right, I'm
going to go first.
Don't act 5.
I want to reel it back into the 6 Canadian teams right now that are in the playoff picture.
Sure.
And I want to ask you, and just stay with me here because I want to frame it the right way. Okay. Like, what the best story would be. And would that be Montreal or Ottawa actually winning a playoff round? Would it be Vancouver potentially upsetting the Winnipeg Jets? Or would it be the Oilers failing in the first round, leaving Conor McDavid's future in Edmonton up to the imagination? You think that's the best story?
I think that would be the biggest story, because it's not just about a team.
Biggest or best?
Oh, the best story? I'll tell you, like, listen, like, I've been consistent with this.
Toronto
all
losing
long.
In the first round
the best,
should be in there,
the best. No, I know, but that's like, I think everyone's expecting that. Like, to be blunt, I still think the best story is, Columbus makes the playoffs, and so do the Calgary Flames. I think that's still the best. That's still the best story. Like, I hate what's happening to Columbus right now, because I don't normally cheer for teams, but I really want Columbus to make it in the playoffs this year, and I want Calgary as well for the Gaudreau family.
I think if the Canucks were to get in the playoffs and win a round, it'd be ridiculous.
Well, that market is an awesome hockey market, because there's no small story. Like, there's no such thing. It's like Toronto's the same. There's no small story in Vancouver. Everything is massive. It's like, who was I talking to yesterday? Bringing up the point that they used to say about Winston Churchill, he's like everybody else, only more so. And Vancouver's like that. They're like every other hockey community, every other hockey city, only more so. Like, Vancouver goes to 11 really fast, right? So yeah, naturally it would be absolutely berserk if the Vancouver Canucks knocked off the Winnipeg Jets. Probably not as profound as if they knocked off one of the Alberta teams, but still, like, that one would be massive. But, like, there's no getting around it. If the Oilers go out in the first round, then it's all going to be about, what does Conor McDavid want to do? And that starts to dominate, like, completely dominate the headlines. And, like, look, I think we've all been told, like, it's one thing for Leon Draisaitl to sign, but don't draw a straight line between Leon Draisaitl signing and Conor McDavid signing. It's not that simple. It's not. So, if they lose to Los Angeles Kings, and Colby, like, I think you and I are on the same page about this one, it's not a guarantee that Edmonton wins that series. That's why of all these years, I do want to see LA and Edmonton. That's why that one gets even more spicy than it's ever been, because it doesn't just become like, oh, they lost and they had Stanley Cup aspirations. It's about, a future Hall of Famer, and is he going to stay in Edmonton because the Oilers have had a Hall of Famer before in a similar situation, albeit that one won a number of cups.
Well, and you got to think he's going to sit down with Stan Bowman, and you got to think he's got to be pleased with the plan. And Stan Bowman is a new fixture to this, scene with the Edmonton Oilers, right? It was Ken Holland for a while. Yep. Jackson comes in. So that's a big part of it that I think people just discount when they say he's never going to leave Edmonton. Now, if you ask me to bet and you said, Colby, you have to make a wager today, I would still bet that he re-signs, but I do not think it is a foregone conclusion. I do not think it's a he'll never leave Edmonton, he'll never leave Draisaitl situation that I think a lot of people have painted, and a lot of people look at it in this way. All right, Jeff, I got one more thing for you before we kind of move into the rest of the show. We've got a couple of little business things we have to take care of today, but the last question that I have for you is about Alexander Ovechkin, because I know you're a hockey historian. And we had Butchie on the show the other day, and we talked a little bit about this.
He was really good.
He's such a fun guy, to have come on the show. But my question is would you rather see Ovi do it this year, or is this better if we sit on it all summer, we promote it all summer, we market it all summer, and then opening night, it's Caps Penguins with him needing 1 or 2 goals to the record? What's better for the game of hockey?
I am so glad you asked this. Next year, give me a summer's worth of marketing, a summer's worth of planning, a summer's worth of hype. And what a great way to start a season, with a massive record being broken. Right now, our eyes are on the playoffs, and as much as this is going to be like an incredible moment for hockey when it happens, keep the focus on the playoffs. Again, like, I'm painting sort of like the hockey ideal picture. I'd like it to happen at the beginning of next season as a way to give the start of the season a jolt. I'm pretty sure Ovechkin just wants it done with as soon as possible, but give me a summer of hyping it up and talking about Ovechkin. And then everybody, when the schedule comes out, figuring out, when is he going to break the record? When do we have to get tickets? There's a schedule maker, Steve Hatzapetros, if he's like 2 goals away from breaking the record or a goal, like, do they heavy up on home games early for the Washington Capitals? Like, do the Washington Capitals request like all home games in October? And then it's like, yeah, whatever. Like, we'll play like, 3 weeks on the road if it means we get all of October at home. But yeah, I'm very much of for the good of the game. We know it's all going to happen. What a great way to kick off a season that would be. That's where I'm at.
What about you?
I disagree, but respectfully.
Why?
Because I think
nothing respectful about disagreeing with me.
I think the Caps have all the momentum in the world right now leading into the playoffs.
Yeah.
If Ovi were to break the record going into the playoffs, I think they'd just be on an all-time high, and they'd be a fun team to root for in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it'd be a fun team to root for anyway.
Well, no, but I'm saying this would add to that, and I think they'd get more like national or global attention from people outside the hockey world that are now interested in the Caps when they hear the best goal scorer in the world is playing in the playoffs. Best goal scorer in every game.
Yeah, I suppose, but like, that is more spontaneous.
If he doesn't do it this year, it's just what we call edging.
I don't know. What do you think, Colby?
I think it's better. Look, I would love to just see him do it, but I do think it's much better for hockey if they have the whole summer. If he gets to within 2 goals and we can get to the summer, I do think it's better with the ability to put some juice into the early part of the NHL season, which, look, guys, we all do shows in the beginning of the season, and we all know the numbers are never as good in October as they are in the middle and towards the end of the season, right? So I think it completely supercharges the first few weeks of the NHL season next year, Johnny. And I'm not just disagreeing with you to disagree with you like some think I might, but I do think they have an opportunity to market this guy, and I hope they do it properly. And they have an opportunity to almost make it larger than life, which I believe he deserves this to be larger than life. Jeremiah, I'm asking you this question directly because you are our resident number one Caps guy. What do you want to see, right? Are you looking to just get it over with right now? Or are you okay sitting on it for the summer and looking forward to it? Because I am curious. I would think Caps fans just want to get it over with, right? I would think, but I don't want to put words in his mouth.
I would think they want to soak it all up as much as they can. I feel like.
Can I throw one more Caps thing out there?
Yeah.
And it's not about Ovechkin. It's about the Jim Gregory Award, the GM of the year. Do you think that the GM of the year this season should go to someone who's not a GM? Brian McClellan. Brian McClellan, as far as roster construction goes, like all of that, and then you go even going into July with all the signings and the trades and the moves and all that. Like, and Chris Patrick was right there for all of it. Like, I'm not saying that Chris Patrick has been there for a long time and was part of all the decision-making process, but technically all those moves were made while Brian McClellan was general manager before he got the promotion and handed it over to Chris Patrick. Now, Chris Patrick has made some moves, certainly, and you can make the argument sometimes the smartest thing to do is to leave something that's working alone, and Patrick has done that. A couple of tinkering moves here and there. But do you think that if you're handing out the Jim Gregory Award, that it should go to Brian McClellan, who technically is not the general manager?
Yeah, that's funny. I said on DFO Live yesterday that I thought Chris Patrick should get it, but I guess I didn't put two and two together.
That's fine. Like, they just say like Washington, whoever's responsible for Washington.
Yeah.
Especially because their summer was criticized by a lot of people.
Yeah. Big time.
Very few people were on that bandwagon, and people criticized a lot of the moves. They restructured their back end. They changed some things up in the goal. I mean, I've looked at teams in off seasons and been like, wow, they hit every right note, and then it just doesn't work out. This one, they just hit every note on
every note.
And
here's where, John, I'll give you some fuel for yours. The decision to hire Spencer Carberry, I have been told that Chris Patrick was one of the sort of prime forces or prime movers behind making that decision. And I think that's one of the I know it's not a move that was made in the summer, but still, like, the decision to bring in that coach for this team, Patrick had, more than one hand on the wheel.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, Jeff, as you always do, you give us a lot of thought-provoking questions, which is why we like having you on.
Fighting minors, Colby. Fighting minors. 2 minutes. Let's go.
You got to be willing to put ideas out there. Staying status quo all the time is not the way you evolve. So, again, we don't always have to agree. They don't always have to be grand slams, but we do appreciate the thought-provoking topics and questions that you do bring to our show. And it's always nice having you on, especially when there's not a lot of games the night before, right? So we're appreciative. What do you got for the sheet today, Jeff?
We got a couple. First of all, my producer's in Nashville.
Yep.
So we got a couple of things that are up in the air.
Yeah.
He's Leafs Nation vacation, right, in Nashville for the Leafs and the Preds. So he's going to be on the road with Nick Alberga. So I'm sure there'll be some stories coming out of there.
2 a.m. FaceTime.
What's that?
2 a.m.
Oh yeah, 100%. You up? Go to bed, Nick. Looks. I think Dan Neer, the commissioner of the WHL, is going to probably pop on today, and I have a couple of other guests that are up in the air right now. I will encourage, by the way, as a bit of self-promotion, we had Robert Thomas on the show yesterday, St. Louis Blues. I don't know if you guys, if you caught it, the story about why he had his teeth done now instead of having your teeth done at the end of the season is an all-timer for me. It's a
and
great
those things aren't hidden. Those things are pearly.
Dude, those are the whitest teeth
Yeah.
in hockey.
Yeah, it threw me off when I
Like,
first saw him in
Robert
person, he smiled.
Robert Thomas smiles like nobody else. It's like he belongs on like a runway in Milan.
Yeah.
Like those teeth are incredible. That's not a hockey. Like compare that to like Bobby Clark. Like those teeth are immaculate. Anyway, the story behind it's a fascinating one. So it's a little bit of shameless self-promotion. The Robert
No,
Thomas
it's not
interview was fun
shameless.
yesterday.
Listen, we, you know, as you always talk about our show, you see us in the chat on your show all the time because we enjoy it. So, all right, Jeff, have a good rest of your day. We will catch up with you soon.
Be good.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, time to get to a little bit of business before we wrap up for the week. As always, we will give the chat a little minute here to give the OutWest Worst Team of the week. So chat, start doing your thing. Give us a pick. Which team do you think was the worst team of the week this week? I know there is certainly one individual in our chat who I don't know if I've seen the name today. Will definitely not like this, but let's talk about OutWest. Our friends were wearing the Sakara performance hoodies right now, but remember, spring is coming, and that means cool mornings and crisp evenings. The perfect time for the Sakara performance hoodie from OutWest, designed for comfort, durability, and performance. This isn't just any hoodie. It's built to move with you, whether you're hitting the trail, setting up camp, or just kicking back in style. Lightweight yet warm, breathable yet cozy. The Sakara performance hoodie is your go-to for spring adventures. So don't get caught in the cold. Grab yours today at outwest.us and save 15% on your first order with our code Cuppa, C-U-P-P-A in all caps. That's C-U-P-P-A in all caps. Out West, every game needs an outlaw. And this week's Out West Worst Team of the Week, let me just check the chat. That's a funny J-Rock Buffalo for still existing. AJ's got it. And that is the Columbus Blue Jackets, who this time last week were looking pretty damn pretty. They've lost 4 in a row, now 6 out of their last 7. Last Thursday, they were tied for the second wild card spot. Now they are on the outside looking in. 3 points back, have to jump 3 different teams now to get in. Total disaster this past week for Columbus, which is a shame. But were you going to say something, Colby? I think I saw you.
No, I was laughing at Merle's comment about the
worst team of the week, the ref in Toronto last night.
Yeah. Listen, we'll see if Columbus can get the ship back on, the train back on the tracks, I guess would be a better way to put it, because there's just nobody that I trust right now in the bottom of that race. There's just, I said this before the show started. I'm actually I'm so happy for Flyers fans because the Flyers are finally dropping, and they're going to probably end up in the bottom, hopefully 4. Right now they're in 5th, but maybe they can get into 4. Give them a chance to get the 1st overall, the 2nd overall. I mean, those first couple of players in the draft this year, Schaefer, Misa, Higgins, they're good, man. Those are good players, and they need more of those because Michkov looks like he's going to be really, really good, but he does not look like a guy you're building your whole team around. They're still in search of that level player. So it makes sense. That's, that race at the bottom is exactly that right now, Johnny. It's a race to the bottom. So what do you got for us for 365? You got a loser for us tonight or what? Because man, you are you're just handing out cold takes all week.
I screwed over Pat Puff yesterday on DFO Live. He wanted the parlay of the Leafs in the Wild, and I was like, oh, I don't know, man. Colorado's got their number. I think they're going to win tonight. And he changed from the Leafs to Colorado and lost. So that's my fault, Pat. But tonight, speaking of the Flyers and speaking of Alexander Ovechkin, Capitals obviously have been super hot as of late. I believe they've won 7 of their last 8 games. Ovi has not been on the score or missed the score sheet in the last game against Detroit. I think he gets back on it tonight. We're going to do Alexander Ovechkin anytime goal at even money, which is nuts. So we think Ovi gets a little bit closer to Gretzky's record tonight. And the Flyers, as we know, their goaltending has struggled as of late. They're not the best defensive team either. So Ovi should be able to find the back of the net this evening.
All right. Well,
I have one more thing to say.
Have at it.
Okay, so I mentioned it before when we spoke about Proraso, but I did just get word from Amel that my interview with Shane LaChance, we sat in a barber shop up in Boston when I was there for the 4 Nations for Proraso. We got haircuts together, and I talked to him about his hockey career. This is actually before he was traded to the Devils. So
give people a little idea exactly who Shane Lachance is. I'm not sure everybody would know.
I was going to get there, but Shane Lachance is the captain of Boston University. He is the grandson of Colby's former coach and famous legendary coach at BU, Jack Parker. So a long history of hockey.
What about who his dad is?
As well.
What about who his dad is?
His father played at BU as well. Was also, I think, the 4th overall pick to the Islanders. Was he 4th overall in the 90s? I don't know
exactly what it was drafted. Yeah. In the NHL.
Yes, I'm sure they got. Okay, you just talk then.
Well, I mean, you gotta.
I'm getting there. You
talk
just
about the guy's dad a little bit here. Geez, most people in our chat they'll know who Scott Lachance is.
I wish we had that picture of you and Shane queued up to show, but maybe we can do that Monday.
So what happened in the interview? What did you guys get into?
We honestly got into everything, and I haven't seen it in like a month, so I actually haven't watched it back at all, so I don't really like necessarily know what's going to be shown on it. But a lot of laughs. Was a good time. There was one part where his face was literally covered in shaving cream and he was being shaved, and I was asking him questions and he was like talking while someone was shaving his face. It was like kind of hilarious. But
did you shave him or no?
No, there were barbers there and everything.
Okay,
it was great.
Right.
It was a good time.
With you, I never know.
Yeah. Okay, now you take over.
All right. Good week. A lot going on this week with the GM meetings. We were, we got Frank, we had Jeff, we had Pat. We definitely had a full week. Oh boy. We definitely had a full week of things going on the show. Next week, only going Monday to Wednesday. So we got a short week next week. So we're going to pack as much into
what?
Colby 5 minutes for instigating. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
I am instigating. So we got a short week next week, Monday through Wednesday. So we'll pack as much as we possibly can into those days. And I'm also
going to be hurting, by the way, next week. Monday morning, you guys are going to see me. I'm going to be dead. I got my best friend's bachelor party in Vegas this weekend. I'm heading out there literally in 2 hours. So first weekend of March Madness, Vegas. I'll be in LA on Sunday to next Sunday.
So you're going to be doing 6:30. You're going to be doing 6 a.m. shows all week.
6 a.m. shows all week next week.
So 5:30 pre-show meetings.
Yeah,
for you.
It's gonna be a grind of a week, but I don't take vacations like Vic.
Listen, we're not all lucky enough to just take off whenever we want, like Vacation Vic. So, sometimes that happens. So do us a favor here, Johnny. Read out 365 and give our presenting sponsor the love that they deserve, and then make sure you remind everybody to like the episode and follow DFO, and then I'm gonna let you take us out today. Okay?
I hate taking us out, but I should remind everybody with that Ovechkin plus 100 goal scorer prop tonight, you should take it on Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner, every face-off, hat trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app and use the code NATION, NATION, in all caps to get in on the game. Remember, you must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly, and if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connexontario.ca. I guess the show is in my hands right now, and I will say happy early birthday to Sloan. She turns 2 tomorrow. Colby's daughter, who pops in every morning, looks at my face and now has it memorized to say Rangers suck. So that's how we start every single day on this show. Sloan comes in, shows her cute little face and whatever she's wearing, and she looks at me. She goes, V-Dog to Vic, and then she looks at me and goes, Rangers suck. So just a little behind the scenes at how our day starts pretty much every day. But busy weekend for me. I'm sure it's a busy weekend for you in the Cohen household celebrating baby Sloan's second birthday. So what do you guys have planned? I'm actually going to kick it back over to you. What do you have planned for Sloan's birthday tomorrow?
You got to ask my wife. Okay. She's the party director around here. So I do know I had to pick up the birthday present yesterday, and I will tell you there was some sticker shock for me when I purchased the car. I thought maybe they were going to actually give me the real car based on how much that thing cost as they wheeled it out on a cart to my car. So
a mini Range Rover.
It's literally exactly what she got her.
Really?
Yes. Yes. They got to have matching cars, don't they? So, all right, look, we appreciate you guys today. I know it's a little bit different. We actually love when Jeff comes on our show because of the thought-provoking nature that he brings. Always throws things at us that we're kind of thrown off by. So especially when there's not a lot of games, there's really no better guest that we can have
Plus, I didn't watch hockey last night.
Yeah, Johnny didn't watch hockey. So make sure you like the episode, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. DFO Live noon, the Sheet 3. A short week for us next week. So let's make sure we get everybody in here Monday morning, 9 a.m. Everybody be ready to heckle Johnny next week. He's going to be grumpy. He's going to be tired.
I'm never grumpy. I'm not grumpy.
Be hungover. So we hope everybody has a great weekend. There's going to be a ton of NHL games on. If you're college hockey fans, Hockey East playoffs tonight, Big Ten playoffs this weekend. The Minnesota Golden Gophers are looking. Oh, wait, no, they lost. Sorry, in the first round.
Willie.
A lot of things going on this weekend. Lots of good hockey. We're making our way. I'll be on ESPN on Sunday, 3:00 selection show with Butchie. So we'll unveil the brackets. So you're right. Busy weekend ahead. We hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll see everybody back here as always, 9 a.m. Monday morning. Have a good weekend, everyone.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe